Okay. Thank you for joining us for our weekly Bible study. The importance of studying the Scriptures cannot be overstated. For the Word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. It's Hebrews 4:12. Tonight is number 15 in our John series, and the date is November the 6th, 2024. Now, last week, we looked at Isaiah's prophecy concerning the birth of Immanuel to a virgin. The specific verse we read is Isaiah 7:14. Now, if you will, turn to Isaiah 7, and I'm going to read verse 14 for us again. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Immanuel. And we discussed the fact that Matthew defines Immanuel, meaning God with us. Now, the prophecy was fulfilled about 750 years later. And in fact, Matthew quoted Isaiah word for word in Matthew 1:22. Now, after reading 7:14, this verse I just read again, after reading 7:14 last week, two very good questions came out of verses 15 and 16. One of them, what is the significance of the curds and honey of verse 15? And number two, what is the meaning of both her kings, the wording at the very end of verse 16? By the way, if you have a Bible question, I have a dedicated email account just for answering Bible questions, and I put some cards on the back table back there. If you'd like to get one and send me a question, I will answer it one way or another for sure. Now, it's a cardinal rule in Bible study to avoid taking a verse out of context. Yes, there are verses we use and quote alone which convey a very important meaning. For example, John 3:16, 1 Peter 5:8, Romans 3:23, and there are many more. However, in order to get the fuller and more complete meaning, it is critical to look at the surrounding text, both before and after. So tonight, we will do some investigating into Isaiah 7, so we can answer the two questions that came up last week. Now, if you will allow me, I will do the reading myself in this section. We will hopefully get to John, just see how the good time goes. But in this section, if you'll allow me, I'm going to do the reading myself so I can pause for commentary and explanation along the way. And again, I'm in Isaiah 7. First, let me read verses 1 and 2. We need this. This is a great illustration of the importance of context, so we can answer the two questions that come 16 verses later. All right, now, Isaiah 7, 1 and 2. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up to Jerusalem to make war against it, but could not prevail against it. And it was told to the house of David, saying, Syria's forces are deployed in Ephraim. So his heart and the heart of his people were moved as the trees of the woods are moved with the wind. Okay, yeah, thank you, Trey. Very good. All right, now, in the first verse there, here's some characters that we need to identify. We need to identify them by name, but more importantly, we need to identify them as to their position so we can understand what is going on here. All right, Ahaz. Ahaz was the 12th king of Judah, the southern kingdom, after the split of the United Monarchy. Now, the split was just about right here, and we've got a map we're going to show in a minute that will be clear. Well, there it is right there. All right, so when the kingdom is split, in about 930. This was the 930 BC, not 930 PM, but 930 BC. This became the northern kingdom, which retained the name Israel. This is the southern kingdom, which took on the name Judah, which is... Yes, sir, exactly, dark blue. It's up here. And it consisted of 10 tribes, 10 of the 12 tribes. Judah and Benjamin made up the southern kingdom, which took on the name Judah because that's the predominant tribe there, Judah. Yes, sir.
Was that the same tribal land that God had given already?
Yes, sir. Exactly, yeah. Now,
10 tribes got a lot less land, it looks like.
the what now?
The top kingdom got a lot less land.
Well, there's 10 tribes. 10 tribes here. And then there's even some on the eastern side of the Jordan here, but predominantly it's right here. That's the land of Canaan, Israel today. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's a good observation. It is a lot bigger. There's 10 tribes here, only 2 right here.
So the land of Canaan, where all the bad Jews live,
Mm-hmm.
is the brown and the blue.
Yes, all of this. All this is Canaan.
That's the promised land.
Yes. Yes. And all this is Canaan. And when Joshua led the people over across the Jordan this way, and he began his military exploits here, military campaigns here, they took over Canaan, and it was divided among the 12 tribes. Okay, and you can go back to Deuteronomy and especially to Joshua and see all that. So Ahaz, Ahaz was the 12th king of Judah, the southern kingdom. It's down here. After the split of the united monarchy of Israel in about 930 BC. Now, if you've picked up the biblical timeline I have available for you back there, you'll see 930 BC on that biblical timeline. That's very helpful because it helps you know what happened when in the Bible, what happened before this and what happened after this. It's very good if you don't have one. Go ahead and get one. If you get the last one, don't worry about it. I'll make some more copies. So that's not a problem at all. So Ahaz, 12th king of Judah, the southern kingdom, after the split of the united monarchy of Israel in about 930. Now there were 3 kings of the united monarchy, Saul, David, and Solomon. After Solomon, 930, that's when the kingdom split. Now, the next character, Rezin, R-E-Z-I-N. Now, I'm not sure that's the right way to pronounce it, but that's the way I want to pronounce it. Rezin, the king of Samaria, or the king of Syria, the king of Syria. And sometimes it's called Aram in the Bible, if you see that. And in fact, up here, it's right on the map for us. Aram, which is right up here, right? It's to the east of the northern kingdom. Damascus, the capital of Syria. There's Damascus right there. You've heard of Damascus, of course. And sometimes it is called Aram, but it's the same place. All right, now the third personality we need to identify is Pekah, P-E-K-A-H. He was the 19th, which actually turned out to be the next to last king of Israel, the northern kingdom, the one in the dark blue. Sometimes the northern kingdom is called Ephraim. All right, Trey, can we have that other map? Yeah, thank you. All right, there's Ephraim right there. All right, that's where a lot of the action takes place in 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, right in here of the northern kingdom, because it's the central tribe, Ephraim. It's the predominant tribe of the northern kingdom, so sometimes in the Bible it's just referred to as Ephraim. But when you see Ephraim, the meaning is the northern kingdom, which is in the blue in the other map. Okay. Now, Syria and its kings, Rezin, and Israel, the northern kingdom, and its king, Pekah, went up to Jerusalem, capital of Judah, the southern kingdom. Okay, now here's Jerusalem. My eyes aren't real good, but I think that should be Jerusalem about right there. All right, so you say, well, why would he go up? Well, he went up because Jerusalem's 2,500 feet above sea level. So anywhere you are, you're going to go up to Jerusalem. No matter what direction, whether it's north, south, east, or west, you're going to go up to Jerusalem. That's the reason it says right here, they went up to Jerusalem to make war against it. All right, now in verse 2, and it was told to the house of David. Now the house of David, that's Judah. You remember David is from the tribe of Judah, all right, which is the predominant tribe down here. So whenever you want to go back to the map, Trey, it'll be fine. We're basically through with that. I just want to show Ephraim was the main thing.
Hey,
So,
Rusty, I
yes.
apologize. Before he gets through with that, I wanted to answer Don's question for a moment. Trey,
Sure.
will you turn back to the other map? Okay. That's the total of the 12 tribes right there, Don. And you see all of the land. And you see Simeon's below Judah and everything. Now, when they didn't do what they were supposed to do and push out everybody, when they had the revolts of the other people, their pieces of land were taken away from them. Their control over those lands were taken away from them. So that if you'll take and turn to the next one again for us on the map, what you had left was those two pieces by that time.
So Simeon,
I was thinking it was much larger.
so Simeon was basically absorbed by Judah. I mean, you're exactly right.
Well, you know, Simeon took and didn't want Judah, so I guess they migrated north and left their land.
It could be. I don't know. But basically, Simeon was absorbed by Judah. Simeon disappeared. Yeah, Simeon disappeared. And later on, yes, sir.
Leading forward to today, is that all, what you see there, both colors, is that Israel?
That's Israel, yes.
That's it?
That's it. So I know what you're thinking, Walter, is that's not all the land that God promised to Abraham in the Abrahamic covenant. No, he promised him from down here, in fact, even below where the map stops to way up here.
Yeah, part of our land.
Yeah, this is just all the way to the Great River being the Euphrates, which is way up here. All right, so this is about a tenth of the land that God promised to Abraham. Yeah. In the millennium, they'll have it all. But right now, this is it.
In the millennium, this is going to be the capital of the world.
Yes, Jerusalem, yeah. Exactly, yeah. Good point, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, Calvin, so much, yeah. All right, so verse 2. Verse 2. All right, and it was told the house of David being Judah. David was of the house of Judah, Judah being the fourth son of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. 12 tribes of Israel came from Jacob. Saying Syria's forces are deployed in Ephraim. Now we saw Ephraim before. It's right in here. All right, Ephraim is just right above the southern kingdom. It's like it's the first tribe, first land mass, or land piece of land. So his heart is referring to Ahaz. So his heart and the heart of his people, the people of the southern kingdom, were moved as the trees of the woods are moved with the wind, which means they realized they were in imminent danger. They could be attacked and taken over at any time by these two other kings. All right. I had a note here to stop and see if there's any questions or comments or additions.
God changed Jacob's name to Israel.
Well, he changed his name. I wish I should have looked it up to see exactly what Israel means. I can't remember if there's a meaning for it, but and it's in Genesis. We'll go back and look at it for now. Yeah, changed to Israel. Yeah. You remember the wrestling match that Jacob had with the Lord? That's when it was changed from Jacob to Israel. It's something like striving.
Wasn't that wrestle?
Wrestles with God. That's it. Striving. Wrestles with God. Exactly. Yeah. That's it. Ma'am? God prevails. Okay. Good. Google's good for that. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Thank you, Katie, so much. Okay. All right. So God prevails. All right. So when his name was changed to Israel, then he had 12 sons, Judah being the fourth one. And so all those tribes came from those sons. Okay. All right. Now let's go, and I'm going to read 3 through 6. Then the Lord said to Isaiah, whose book we're reading right now, the Lord said to Isaiah, go out now to meet Ahaz, the king of the southern kingdom, you and Shear-Jashub, your son, kind of an odd name, but we're going to explain what that means here in just a minute, at the end of the aqueduct from the upper pool on the highway to the fuller's field. And say to Ahaz, take heed and be quiet. Do not fear or be faint-hearted, for these 2 stubs of smoking firebrands, and he's referring, well, I'll get to that in a minute. For the fierce anger of Rezin and Syria and the son of Remaliah, because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have plotted evil against you, saying, let us go up against Judah and trouble it, and let us make a gap in its wall for ourselves and set a king over them, the son of Tabel. All right, now the Lord spoke to his prophet Isaiah and told him to go see Ahaz, king of Judah, at the aqueduct from the upper pool. Now this upper pool, by the way, was the pool of Siloam in New Testament times. You remember about the pool of Siloam. In Luke 13, Jesus asked if the 18 people on whom the Tower of Siloam fell, you remember that story? If the Tower of Siloam fell on 18 people and killed them, were they worse sinners than the other Galileans? Remember, he asked that question. All right, so it's the same place as this upper pool. And also, Jesus healed a man at that pool. And we're going to see that when we get to the 9th chapter of John. So Siloam should be a relatively familiar term. But it's the same place as this pool of Siloam. The aqueduct, of course, took the water from one place to another from the source. Now, just to say, I'm saying this just to say that here is another of many solid connections between the Old Testament and the New Testament. They're not 2 separate books, as some people seem to think. Now, Shear-Jashub, the name of Isaiah's son, means a remnant shall return. Now, following the 70-year captivity in Babylon, which took place after the southern kingdom fell in 586, but following the 70-year captivity in Babylon, a remnant of Israel did return. So this was a prophecy. Shear-Jashub means a remnant will return, and they did. They did. That's in Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. Now, Ahaz was assured by God through Isaiah that Pekah and Rezin would be unsuccessful in their attempt to take Judah. They were, as we might say today, they were all bark and no bite. All right. So any comments there? Any questions? Yes, sir.
I'm intrigued as to why God would have prophecies that connect to the Old New Testament. I mean, why you can't dream this stuff up.
No.
God came up with it.
Right.
Why did he work with prophets and prophecies?
Well, a good answer. Okay. A good answer for that is in Hebrews. Hebrews. It's a better answer than I can give you. So if you go to the book of Hebrews, in the very first chapter, the writer of Hebrews, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, says, God, who at various times and in various ways spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets, has in these last days spoken to us by his Son, whom he has appointed heir of all things, through whom also he made the worlds. So he spoke through his prophets.
So the package that he's giving us is the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Yes.
It's sewed together
Yes.
with the prophecies.
Yes.
You said it back here and it happened up here.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
A great illustration Micah 5:2 says that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem. Matthew 2 says that he was. Solid connection. Yes, sir. Yes, that sure do. Yeah.
By the nature of the word prophecy, it's telling what's to come. And of course, that God's prophecy is always correct.
Foretelling, yes.
There's no deviations, there's no errors.
No, sir.
Prophecy throughout the Bible.
Yes, so true. That's exactly right. Very well put. Okay. All right, 7 through 9. Thus says the Lord God, it shall not stand, nor shall it come to pass, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, the king is Rezin. Within 65 years, this is very important, we'll explain it in just a minute. Within 65 years, Ephraim will be broken. Remember, Ephraim is another name for the northern kingdom, so that it will not be a people. The head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If you will not believe, surely you shall not be established, or you will not continue. You will not continue. Okay? Now, Damascus should be a familiar city name. You remember Saul of Tarsus was on the road to Damascus when he was confronted by Jesus and converted. Within 65 years is very important. Very important. At this point, it's about 735 BC, the northern kingdom of Israel, or Ephraim or Samaria, all three synonyms, was still intact. The northern kingdom was still intact. However, 13 years later, just 13 years later, in 722 BC, this is on the timeline also, the Assyrians, not the Syrians, but the Assyrians, which are north of them, the Assyrians overran the northern kingdom, taking most of the people captive. 52 years later, from that, in 670 BC, the Assyrians imported foreign settlers into the land. All right, so they took these people, didn't take them all, but they took the majority of the people here in this northern kingdom and took them way up here to the Syrian Empire. They took them way up there. And then, those years later, they took people that they had conquered elsewhere and brought them over here to plant them in this land. Now, that's where the Samaritans come from. So that's the reason there's so much animosity. You know, we talked about that.
Well, when Jesus was talking to the woman at the well, he said, "I come to you to speaking to me, a Syrian."
Samaritan. Well, she said that Jesus was a Jew, of course.
Yes.
Why are you speaking to a Samaritan? Yeah.
And then she goes back to town and says, "He told me all about my life because it's the same."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. And we talked when we talked about that, we said that the Samaritans believed in the first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch, yes, Genesis through Deuteronomy, but that's all. So they knew just from those 5 books that the Messiah, the Anointed One, would be coming. So that's the reason she was aware of that.
We need to read the first 5 books.
You do, yeah, you sure do. Sure do, yeah. And when we get through with John, if I'm still here, we will go to Exodus because we studied Genesis before when I was here, so we're going to take up there. So anyway, that's months off. All right. Now, the Samaritans, for that reason, were shunned by the Jews in later years. They said, "Well, you're a mixed breed," which they were. They were mixed because of the Syrians and what they did. All right, now, right now, where we are in John 4, Jesus is in the land of the Samaritans. Now, we've stated another ironclad bond between the Old and the New Testaments. Okay. Now, we've stated several times that any self-respecting Jew would not have gone through Samaria. Jesus was down here in Jerusalem, you remember in chapter 3 when he talked to Nicodemus, and he said he needs to go, he wanted to go to Galilee, but he needs to go through Samaria. But any self-respecting Jew would have gone from Jerusalem to the east and gone over here to Perea and gone up and then gone into Galilee, bypassing Samaria. All right, so that's the background on that. No self-respecting Jew, especially a Pharisee, would not have gone through Samaria. Now, from 735 B.C. to 670 B.C. is exactly 65 years. And there you have it in Isaiah 14:8. Within 65 years, Ephraim, the northern kingdom, will be broken, will no longer exist. That's exactly what happened. Talk about prophecy, Don. That's exact. Now, let's look at verses 10 through 14. All right, moreover, the Lord spoke again to Ahaz, saying, ask a sign for yourself from the Lord your God. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, nor will I test the Lord. Then he said, hear now, O house of David. Is it a small thing for you to weary men, but will you weary my God also? And here's our verse. Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Immanuel.
Now, that's the end of the northern kingdom.
Yes.
When Jesus was born.
No, not when Jesus was born.
When he went back.
No,
65 years.
Jesus did not come to earth yet. The 65 years, the date of the writing of is approximately, I can't say it's exact, but approximately 735 B.C. In 65 years, the northern kingdom will no longer exist. Yeah. Yeah. But it's still 670 years till Jesus comes to earth. Okay. Does that help?
It ended before, way before Jesus came.
Way before.
Way
Way before. Yes, sir, exactly. All right. All right. 10 through 14. Now, graciously, Jehovah offered to give Ahaz a sign. Remember, he asked, ask a sign for yourself from the Lord your God. And so Ahaz very piously responded that I will not test Jehovah. He offered him the sign. He said, no, I will not test Jehovah. Very pious. So Jehovah gave him a sign himself. Therefore, Jehovah told Ahaz what the sign would be. A virgin would conceive and bear the Messiah, the anointed one. Now, it was a faraway prophecy, 670 years, or actually 735 years from this point. It was a faraway prophecy, 735 years in the future from that time. Okay. Any other questions, comments on that before we look at the last few verses? Okay. All right. I know this is a lot of information, but I'm trying to answer the question, and I'm going to finally get to it now. All right. But without that background, none of it makes sense. Now, verses 15 through 17. Curds and honey he shall eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. Verse 16. Before the child shall know to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that you dread will be forsaken by both her kings. The Lord will bring the king of Assyria upon you. This is the prediction, Walter, that the northern kingdom is going to be overrun. The Lord will bring the king of Assyria upon you and your people and your father's house, days that have not come since the day that Ephraim departed from Judah. Okay. Now, verses 15 and 16, let me say this first. The original manuscripts, we've talked about this before, the original manuscripts did not include any capitalization. The original manuscripts did not include any punctuation. That was for the translators to put in. Now, the King James translators put it in certain ways. They thought, well, this should be capitalized, there should be a comma here, and so forth and so on. But the ESV translators did the same thing, but it might have not been the same thing as what the King James translators did in 1611. All right? The ESV, same thing. So the translation will be different. The reason I say that right here is because if you see child capitalized, then that wasn't necessarily that way in the that wasn't the original meaning necessarily. If you see a pronoun he capitalized, which normally would refer to the anointed one, it doesn't necessarily mean that in the original. So it could vary, and we're going to see some of that here in just a minute. All right, now verses 15 and 16 seem to point to Isaiah's son, remember Shear-Jashub, rather than to Immanuel, verse 14. And it's confusing because it's there in the same, in your translation might be like mine, it's in the same paragraph. So you say, well, why would it change? Well, I believe it did. Verses 15 and 16 seem to point to Isaiah's son, Shear-Jashub, rather than to Immanuel of verse 14. Now, at about the time Shear-Jashub could distinguish between right and wrong, Pekah and Rezin were no longer kings in their respective countries when he had grown. Now, anybody that's raised children, been around children, there comes to a certain point where they realize this is right and this is wrong. Okay? And so, it varies from child to child. But let's say 2 years old, 3 years old, or close to that. By that time, Pekah and Rezin would no longer be kings in their respective countries. So they're going to be deposed. The curds and the honey point to the scarcity of food. The scarcity of food. When the northern kingdom was taken over by the Syrians, there was very little food available at that point, as you can certainly understand. Verse 17 prophesies the end of the northern kingdom. And just a postscript here, all the prophets, including Isaiah, prophesied during the times of the kings. Now, the books of history, beginning with Joshua, going all the way through Esther, there's 12 books of history in the Old Testament. I've talked about the categories of the books, how important they are, and here's one of the reasons. All those 12 books of history, including the history of Israel and the kings and so forth, and what happened to them, the prophets, all the prophets, the major prophets and the minor prophets, prophesied during the time of the kings. And I'll subdivide that a little bit more later on. But so we would expect some reference to this event in the books of history. Now, we're not going to prolong this, but if you will, just to complete the story, turn to 2 Kings 15. If you know where Samuel is, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, then 1st, 2nd Chronicles, you've gone too far. All right, so go to 2 Kings chapter 15, and just listen 27 through 30. 2 Kings 15, chapter 15, starting at verse 27, I'm going through 30. In the 52nd year of Azariah, now Azariah is another name for Uzziah. King Uzziah was the longest ruling king in the southern kingdom. Uzzah and Azariah, the same person. In the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, the southern kingdom, Pekah, the son of Remaliah, the same guy we just talked about, and Isaiah talked about, Pekah, the son of Remaliah, became king over Israel in Samaria. Samaria was a city in Israel there, and reigned 20 years. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not depart from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, Jeroboam, the first king of the northern kingdom, from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who had made Israel sin. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, the northern kingdom, Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, came and took Ijon, Abel, these other names, other places right here, these other places, and he carried them captive to Assyria. Then Hoshea, the son of Eli, led a conspiracy against Pekah, the son of Remaliah, and struck and killed him. So he reigned in his place in the 20th year of Jotham, the son of Uzziah. Same guy as Azariah in verse 27. Okay. All right. It's a long answer to a short question, but we had to have the context. All right. Any questions, comments on that? I don't even know we're going to go to John. I don't think we will, because we don't have nearly enough time. Yeah.
It's all sort of comforting that it's meant
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Everything verifies or reassures
Mm-hmm.
something else.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Somebody said that the Old Testament looks forward to the New Testament. The New Testament explains